Hi everyone, John here from Mall Miniatures Great and Small. Today I'm going to be doing a Army showcase. This is going to be an Army I am taking for an upcoming event. Now if you followed the channel or you're local here to Arizona, you may have heard of our Shifting Sands event that we used to host every year. It started as Flames of War, but when Team Yankee came out, we incorporated Team Yankee, so some years were one, some years were the other. But basically it was a fun themed event where folks could get together here in the the Phoenix Valley and have a good time throwing dice. So this year the theme was Red Dawn for Team Yankee. So the invasion of America by the Soviets and the Cubans. So we have a lot of opportunity for different lists that we could take. Now, the tournament itself, I will be having a full tournament report in a separate video once it's done to kind of give you an after action of all my games. It is going to be a 5-round event. I believe both Sean and Mark are coming as well, so that will be exciting to see the guys out there. So I'll try to get you all the information there as well. But this video, I'm just going to go more in an in-depth of my list, why I took it, what's in it, what I hope that it can accomplish, and point out maybe some of its deficiencies as well. First off, I'm going to just let you guys know I did not build this with the eye of tournament competition. I'm not looking to win the tournament with this list. I wanted to build a themed list for the event. So with the invasion of America, I thought maybe U.S. Marines were training stateside. They pulled out, they pulled out equipment and what they could, and they sent them as fast as they could to stop what was the invasion that was happening. So I thought an LAV, U.S. Marine Corps LAV company would be a great core for that kind of theme. So that was my initial thought. I had toyed with taking an M60 company, but in the end, I decided to do a LAV company. Now for the tournament, it was a max of 2 formations, and the point limits were 80 points. I just went with 1 formation, my LAV, and I got to 80 points on the nose. I'll kind of go over the units before we talk about any kind of thoughts about what they are. So in my core formation, I have a unit of 2 LAV 25, so that's my HQ unit. Then I have 3 units of LAVs. These are LAV 25s, which means they have the 25mm gun in the turret. So I've got 3 units of 4. So we've got 14 LAV 25 hulls. Rounding out the core formation, I also have 4 LAV ATs, and they're equipped with tows. I did not take improved tows or tow 2s. I figured the Marines, again in my head canon, the Marines, they're being attacked. All the good tow 2 missiles have been sent to Europe for the Army's use, so these guys are stuck using the old school tows. So I have 4 of those in a very nice unit. Then I've got a 2-tube unit of mortars, which I don't like taking 2 tubes normally, but that's all it offers in that formation is just 2 tubes of mortars, because you have to re-roll your hits with that. So it, hopefully it can provide smoke and maybe pick off a team or 2, but I don't have a lot of high hopes. That's my core formation. I've got 5 units in my core formation, so I'm not going to be super easy to break, but it is going to be a consideration. Now, supporting my formation, I've got a LAV AD platoon. Now, I only took 2 of those, and I'll talk more about that later. Then I've got a rifle platoon, a U.S. Marine rifle platoon, with their AAVP-7s. I think that's what those are, those big honking transports. The Marine platoon's nice and chunky. It's got 9 basically SAW teams with LAWs, and then I did upgrade it for 1 to add one dragon team in there. So there's 10 teams total in the Marine unit. I'm also bringing Marine Pattons, so 5 M60 Pattons with the Marines. They're not as good as the U.S. Army Pattons. They don't have the laser rangefinder. I think they just have accurate. But you know, they do have a little bit better soft scores. Then we are supporting the armor with some air power. We've got 4 Harriers, which are dirt cheap for the you know, for the Marines. The Marine Harriers are pretty cheap. They're only 6 points in the list for 4 of them. And then we have a unit of 4 Cobras, which are obviously very helpful. They've got some really good anti-tank. Again, they're just taking the tows, not the TOW2s, but they can still be a threat with their cannons and missiles. Then last but not least, I've got a militia group. We've got the Wolverines that are going to be popping out of ambush, hopefully, and causing havoc in the backfield. With the militia, I just took the base group, so I've got 5 assault rifle teams with RPGs and then 2 RPG-7 anti-tank teams. Those are the smaller bases with a much better RPG. I didn't take the trucks or the mortar or anything like that for those guys because I don't think they're necessary, especially at an 80-point level where kind of every point is at a premium. All right, so that is my what is in my list. Now let's talk a little bit about these units. The LAV, which is kind of what my whole force is based on, my LAVs are really weak. They have a front armor of 1, they have a side armor of 1, they're top 0, which is a little frightening. And they have a 25mm gun in their turret. So they're firing basically 24 inches, moving or halted, a rate of fire 3, which is nice. Anti-tank 8, 5+ firepower with anti-helicopter. So even though I only have 2 dedicated anti-aircraft units, you know, most of my force has anti-helicopter, so Heinz hopefully should not be bothering me. Anti-tank 8 should be enough to deal with BMPs or the little BDMs that the Soviet airdropped infantry, the VDV, but a lot of acronyms, I'm sorry, have. So anti-tank 8 is a good matchup against that light armor that the airborne airdropped Soviets will be taking. So I'm pretty happy with the weapons. I should also talk about, just in general for Marines, what their skill are. My Marines across the board are hit on 4s. The militia is going to be hit on 3s. Usually across the board they have courage of 3+, and a remount of 3+. That lets them do follow me orders and you know, get back in their tanks if they're bailed out a little bit better. They still have a 4-up morale, so they're still going to run as often as, you know, 50-50 chance, just like the US stuff. But with the better remount, hopefully, you know, I don't hit a breakpoint quite as fast. They get back in their tanks faster and won't hit that. All right, so back to that. So the LAVs are, you know, pretty cheap units. Technically they're only 1 point each. So I have 14 LAVs is only 14 points out of my list. I can be aggressive with them because they do have Scout and they do have Spearhead. And I can fight at night because they do have Thermal. So I can be aggressive with them, but I do have to be careful not to throw them away and have my company broken just by being too careless with the LAVs. Also in that formation, I mentioned the mortars. Not much to say about them. It's just 81mm mortars. It can get me 1 turn of an 8-inch smoke line. Maybe screen me from some nasty stuff for a turn. Otherwise, since I'm re-rolling hits, if I do range in on something, I'm probably not going to kill them. Now, if some Soviets, I guess if they're hit on 3s, maybe I could, but you know, I'm not going to count on those guys doing too much. One of the primary reasons I got them was just to One, buff up my core formation because they are core. They're going to hide in the back, in woods or behind buildings, and hopefully not get shot and keep my core formation alive. So that's kind of the, the thought there. Then the last in the core formation are the LAV anti-tank. So these are actually pretty spicy. I like them. They're still the same hull, so front armor 1, it's still an LAV, but it's got the hammerhead rule and the TOW missile launcher. It doesn't have a TOW 2 again, no TOW 2s on the list, but still the normal TOW has an anti-tank of 21, 3+ firepower. The only thing I guess that can really reliably bounce it would be like if they take a T-72B, which I think has a front armor 18. So I still have a chance of penetrating even from there. The nice thing with Hammerhead is I can shoot and still be gone to ground. So I put these guys in a tree line or something like that. Even if they're firing, they're only going to be hit on 6s in return, which is great for me. So that is the core formation. In the core formation, obviously, those LAV anti-tank guys are my dedicated anti-tank. Everything else, really nothing else can threaten, heavy tanks like T-72s or whatnot. Okay, so that's core formation. Let's talk about the support. We'll continue the LAV train first. So next up, we're going to do the LAV ADs, which are these guys here. The LAV ADs are kind of a combo air defense unit. I like them a lot. Thematically, I only take them with Marines. If I didn't play thematically, I'd probably pop them into a U.S. Army list just because they're small and they're deadly. They're a combo air-to-air unit, ground-to-air unit. They don't fly. When I say combo, I mean they have 2 anti-air weapons. They can only shoot 1 per turn, but they can pick the best one for the situation. First up, they have a 25mm Gatling gun, which in air has a range of 36 inches on the table. So a pretty good threat bubble. 7 shots halted, 4 on the move. And it's anti-tank 8, 5+ firepower. It's basically the same caliber gun that's on the LAVs, just dedicated to anti-air with the radar. If there's aircraft that are longer range, it does also have Stinger missiles out to 48 inches, so it's got 2 shots each. So in essence, I could either shoot like 4 Stinger shots or 14 Gatling shots if air pops up in their bubble. So hopefully that will keep the Soviets at bay. I imagine I will see a lot of Hinds. I don't imagine I will see a lot of Frogfoot or Fitters, but there probably will be some. But either way, I think between that and the anti-helicopter on my force, I've got I've got a decent air bubble. And I'll also say that my air power is also pretty decent at hurting air. For example, if I've got Hinds in my backfield, maybe a flight of Harriers or Cobras will pop in and take them out as well. So I'm not too worried about air defense with this list. Next up, let's talk about the 2 beefiest units in the list. The first one's going to be the rifle platoon. This is again a pretty beefy unit. Everything that you see there, I think I've upgraded at cost 10 points, and that includes the Dragon. I think that's how that is. And they're pretty good. I mean, they don't have a lot of Dragons like a U.S. Army platoon would have, but they've got a lot of bodies. They've got 9 stands base, plus you can add lots of extras. I didn't add a lot because of point values. Points are at a premium when you're playing at 80 points, but you could add extra things like Dragon teams, mortars, SMAW teams. There are a lot of cool stuff you can add. So a Marine Corps rifle platoon is pretty spicy, I think. They with the LAW, they have anti-tank 12, 5+ firepower, so any one of those teams can threaten like BMPs, BDMs, any of those Soviet armored personnel carriers, so they can be used offensively. Now, I do want to talk about their transport, the AAVP-7 transport, which is pretty, again, it's pretty good, but it's huge. And you're putting all your eggs in one basket with these guys. So basically 5 stands of infantry would ride in each one. And that means if my opponent blows one up, and if they're loaded and on the table, they're going to be a priority to be blown up. Just one hit could potentially kill a lot of infantry. Because when you blow up a vehicle carrying infantry, you have to make a save for each guy inside. So even though I painted those up at the last minute and very happy with those models, I don't imagine they will be seeing a lot on the tabletop this battle. Okay, next up we have the Pattons. So this is the most expensive unit in my formation. We got 5 Pattons for 20 points. The Patton, I think, is a great second tier tank. You obviously have the Abrams is top tier for the Americans. But you have the Patton, which is front armor 15, side 8, top armor 2. They have the same exact gun as the M1 Abrams, the 105mm gun. So, that's 40-inch range, 2 shots, anti-tank 20, 2+ firepower. Again, pretty much enough to threaten almost anything except maybe T-72Bs reliably. Now, they don't have laser rangefinder, which the Army M60s have. So that means that if they do move, they get the long-range penalty for distance, for beyond 16. So if I move into position and shoot something, 30 inches away, they're going to get +1 for long-range bonus. Whereas laser rangefinders takes that away. They do have accurate though, so if they're staying put, they they don't get the long-range penalty. So enough said. If you have, that was a little convoluted. The Pattons do have some machine guns, but they don't have any anti-air machine guns, so they are a little bit more vulnerable than Abrams to air, but I figure I've got them covered. So they're going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. If there's, things that the rest of my list can't tackle, that's what the Pattons are going to come in. And then we'll also talk about missions later, but why I chose a 5-unit strong unit of Pattons. Okay, then we've got the Harriers. Now, Marine Harriers are interesting because they're dirt cheap. So you often don't expect a lot from air power, but I've been pleasantly surprised by these guys. They have 2 weapons. They've got a 30mm cannon and cluster bombs. Now, the 30mm cannon is just 3 shots, anti-tank 7, 5+, anti-helicopter. And then the cluster bomb's a huge salvo template, anti-tank 7, 5+ firepower. Same thing. They do have, they only have a 5-up save, so they don't last long if they're concentrated on, but they can be pretty scary. They can be a counter for enemy helicopters. Again, with BMPs, BDMs, any of the armored personnel carrier chassis, I'm punching right through or pretty much punching right through with those. The other nice thing about the Harriers are they have the jump jet rule, so they do arrive every turn on a 3+ instead of a 4+. And if you don't think that's a big deal, you should see some of my battle reports when I have air. It is, you'll feel the difference. The other thing I'm taking, and probably, the second most expensive unit, is 4 Cobras. Now, you will notice in this list, again, I wanted to be thematic. I spent the last week before the tournament painting, you guys might recognize it, Blue Thunder and Airwolf as two Cobra proxies. I mean, I have the Cobras, but you know, I figure if the Soviets are invading and we've got Red Dawn, why not throw Blue Thunder and Airwolf into the mix, if you will. So, but anyway, I digress. The Cobra is a really good, but it is 14 points for 4 of them. With the tow, they also have a Gatling gun, and they also have a salvo rocket launcher. So it's, I mean, it's a really flexible unit. They're on the table, and they have hunter killer if you put them behind tall terrain, so they can pop up. They're hard to hit. With the tow, they've got a 48-inch range, so they can sometimes sit outside of anti-aircraft bubbles and just pick away at the enemy. With their Gatling gun, they can do anti-helicopter, so they can take out enemy helicopters in the backfield. And the rocket launcher could put a big salvo on infantry in the open that might not be dug in. So a lot of utility out of Cobras. Usually Cobras do pretty well for me. Then last but not least, we have the Militia. So the only non-Marine group. So this is, you know, the Wolverines led by Patrick Swayze's over there. It's a very cheap unit. Like I said, it's just assault rifles with RPGs. They're hit on 3s, so they're very easy to hit. They're not very good in assault. They're 5+ assault, but they do rally and stick around pretty good. They rally on, I think, a 3, and they morale is a 4. So they've got a good chance of sticking around even if they take some losses. The nice thing about them, the way they work, if you don't know, is they go into a state like reserve, but they're not technically in reserves. Then with them, in every turn you roll a die, and just 1 die every turn for them, and on a 5+, they come in. So you could get very unlucky and they never come in, or they come in at the end of the battle, or sometimes they come in turn 1 and you don't have a place for them yet. The nice thing about them is they use the ambush rules, so you ambush them in your enemy's deployment area or no man's land. You can't deploy them in your area. The Marines would have sent them home if they would have found them, so they pop up somewhere in the backfield. So they're a great annoyance unit, and they, you know, they can threaten things. You know, typically I like having them go after artillery parks or anti-aircraft batteries, things like that. They can't charge the turn that they appear on the table, but if you can get them in terrain, you might be able to get them in range with their RPGs and cause havoc. All right, so that is kind of the more detailed breakdown of the list. So mission-wise, there has been some talk at the tournament about airdrop being the first mission. I've played airdrop before, and it's a pretty crazy mission with everything kind of starting bailed out or pinned down, and you know, Soviets just kind of dropping pretty much anywhere, and it can get pretty crazy. But one of the things in that mission is it's deep scattered reserves, I believe, so anything, you can only have 1 unit of armor, I think, which is 4 or higher. So when I was considering taking an M60 tank company, I realized if I get drawn into that mission, I'm just screwed, and you know, it would be bad. It would be a bad breakdown. So that was one of the thoughts, and also bringing an LAV company would be, I'd be better able to weather, or at least be competitive in the airdrop mission. They did announce the other missions. I don't remember off the top of my head. I do know Encounter and Free for All are 2 of them, I think, but I can't remember the other ones. Dust Up or Scouts Out, something like that. A lot of missions where there is no turn 6 victory condition. You can just win on any turn that you hold the objective, which is, I guess, good for a tournament where you only have 2.5 or 3 hours. I really don't know the schedule. They haven't released too much information on exactly how this tournament will be run, but I'm assuming it will be something pretty standard. So you got a good idea now of what I'm running. All right, so there you go, guys. That's a look at my 80-point U.S. Marine LAV company with support, including the Wolverines. I'm looking forward to the tournament. Of course, I will have a video where I kind of recap my adventures at the tournament. I'll try to remember to take pictures. Usually I'm really good at the first battle, but by the end of the day, I kind of start petering out. We'll also see marathon-wise how I do health. I haven't done anything all day like this for a while since my health issues, so we'll keep our fingers crossed that it all goes well. But besides that, I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please let me know down in the comments below. If you've taken an LAV company, let me know down in the comments below as well. How'd you do? What did you think of the list? What changes might you suggest to my list? Also, keep in mind, I'm not building this super, tournament competitive. I just wanted something a little bit more thematic. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do like our Flames of War and Team Yankee content, do check out our Patreon, where we release a new battle report every month for patrons. So I think you guys might enjoy that as well. As always, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.